This tutorial will show you how to use some of the Trialex macros through a web interface. So let me go ahead and log in and show you how to do that. It defaults to the new report macro, but let me go ahead and create a new global library, which is a way of managing the reports through a series of standard reports within a global library. So the first thing to specify is where the file folder, where the global library is managed. This is normally on the server, but let me go ahead and just, since I'm logged onto the server, I'm just going to use a local path here. Normally you would use / server name and the location. This actually corresponds to this folder here, which I'll show you. This folder right now is pretty empty. It has some subfolders, but there's nothing inside it. I'm going to go ahead and create a global level library and also maybe a project specific library and maybe a study library. You can call it whatever you want, and you can have up to 5 different levels. In this example, I'm just going to have 3 levels as an example. And this is a child-parent relationship in the sense that later on when I create reports at the, for example, at the child level of study, the global and the parent will get its attributes, standardized attributes, inherited. So by default, the action is insert. You can later on go back and delete and modify existing levels. So I'm going to click OK, and it's actually going to submit the macro. And if you look into the details of the output log here, so even though we're using a web interface, it shows you the log as to what has happened. And in essence, it's calling a report library macro. And it does a proc print of some of the data sets that it creates up here in the output, which it creates a series of reports data sets. So if you go out here to the directory, you can see those data sets that are created. The first one you can see is the index data set. This index data set captures all the relationships. For example, we have 3 different levels here, and there's a parent-child relationship in the sense that the project level is a child of the global level, and the study level is a child of the project, the study being the youngest child and will inherit all the levels above it. So this is how the global library manages it, are stored in these data sets. Now once you have these established, of course when we first start out, these data sets are pretty much empty, and there's only one thing defined in the header to show you that what has been defined. Later on you'll go back and change these to have the standard headers and titles and footnotes of your reports. So right now it's pretty empty. But let's say I'm going to use this global library and I'm going to create a new study and to take advantage of that global library standard. So I go to the new report. I'm going to go to the new report function here, or macro, and I need to specify the location of where that global library is defined. In that case, I just did it at Trialex. And then I need to specify a new location where the new study will be defined. So I just have a sample directory here, and it's empty at the moment. But if I were to specify that new path, and then I can choose what level, for example, if I were to say level 3, it's going to be one of the study levels. So I think the one I created is called study level. Later on, when you create multiple studies, you can then specify the specific study standards that you want. Let me make sure that's the right one. It's called study level. That's correct. Okay, so once I've specified that, I can click on OK, and it's going to capture the standard, which is pretty much empty at the moment, but from this reports 3 dataset, and it's going to create a new one in the new study location. In this case, it's just called reports. And as you recall, it's pretty empty, the standard at the moment. I just created it, and it has nothing but that header. But let's say I want to edit this in Excel. One of the useful macro is to be able to export. So for example, if I were to go to report export, I can export this to an Excel file. So if I were to say the location here, the new location that I'm working on, and I'm also going to create this export Excel file to the same location, but I'll just name it test as an example. So this is going to take that data set and it's going to create an Excel file so that I can edit in Excel. Now in my case, I don't have SAS access to PC file formats, so instead of creating an XLS, it creates a CSV, which works just as well. And I can open that in Excel, and I can start to edit this. For example, I can change this to the standard header of my study, and I can start to define the various different reports, such as I can call it tdmog for my tdmog.sas program. So these, and I can do as many rows as I want here. This is just an example as how easy it is to then edit things in Excel, and then you can save it. And then once I have it completely updated, I can re-import it. So instead of editing, within SAS, I can do that in Excel, and I can import it back in to that SAS dataset. So right now what I'm going to do is use the report rep import, which is the ability to import an Excel file into the reports dataset, and I can say control, let me see if I can type that location again, which is Trialex, and then I think I call it new study. Let me verify real quick here so I don't have a new study, I don't have a typo. And then the input file is actually that same location, but I have that test CSV file. So what I'm doing is I'm re-importing what I've updated in Excel back into the SAS dataset, the reports dataset. So once I have that, I can actually go back here. It actually makes a backup. There's always a backup with an underscore. So this backup has the original dataset that I had with that single header. And then I also had updated in Excel with the program name and the the report name along with the new header. So you can do this at the study level or at the global library level. So it enables an easy way of editing the reports within Excel and then importing it back. So that's how you can manage all your global library and your study level reports to establish standards.